Hello everyone, I am Tacet, and today I'm going to be going over the best Gems of War teams for version 3.05 of the game. This is mainly going to be going over teams that have been made viable or are simply just from newly released troops that have come within the last few months during this version. Some things to note about this version that occurred is the Urskea Kingdom ends up getting released. The only thing really noteworthy of this is it added a lot of a new Enrage mechanic, which is 1.5 times skull damage for a single instance. Doesn't really get used much, but the legend is decent. Other than that, the most notable change was mainly just all of the event troops that came in. There were quite a few pretty decent event troops this time around, more so than what the average would be. And other than that, there were two mythics, of course, Inferno and Uriali. Inferno is mainly used with things like Grim for a nice loop, and Uriali doesn't really get used much for anything, mainly because Crimson Bat and Draculus are a lower mana cost and generally are more efficient than a Uriali. The only time she's really used is situationally within Guild Wars, or if you just want to mess around in PvP. But anyways, let's go over some teams. I'm going to be going over 6 different teams, starting with a very cheap one and one of my personal favorites as far as what has been made possible, and that is a double Dwarven Gate, a Valkyrie and a Tesla. This team only covers 3 colors, which is excessively weird for a team. Generally, you want to cover at least 5, ideally all 6. But this team somehow manages to function with just the 3. It is pretty nice. It is still pretty nice even with that. Unfortunately, we are getting a pretty bad starting board here. He looks like he's going to go really vicious on us. I'm having to deliberately go out of my way just to counter him out. One thing to note about the current meta on this game, as far as what really gets used a lot as of this current moment in time, Mana Drain. Mana Drain is absolutely everywhere right now. You cannot go like 3 battles without finding Mana Drain. Also, for any of you on console, you guys have the issue of Justice Team being literally everywhere. But on the PC mobile side, we have the Mana Drain everywhere. So slightly different, but still kind of similar. You would mainly, because both of them are dependent on mana in a way. So both of them are kind of strong in a similar way, mainly because with Mana Burn, the higher mana you have, of course, the more damage she'll end up doing. And inversely, or kind of similarly, with the Mana Drain, of course, if they're fully mana draining you, the more you're losing, the more you'll be set behind within the battle. Because if they're draining you when you have like 20 mana compared to if you're just draining a 9 mana troop, that's a pretty big difference there. So, Tesla, we're just going to throw this down, get a nice skull distract, and just keep poking it down. Keep getting those nice little pokes down there. Keep getting that Tesla. Ideally, we would have gotten it a little bit quicker. He's being quite a bit annoying. Of course, we can use these gates as a really nice mana generation. 2 of them, what they do is they give you 5 mana to all other allies. So you can just double cast them, get a Valkyrie up, use the Valkyrie, fill them back up, double cast, repeat, Tesla, 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 dead, and stuff like that. So yeah, works out pretty nice. One of my personal favorite as far as what has been added in the most recent patch. And yeah, on to the next one. We have Enrage Skulls and also some Mana Drain, of course. So this one is probably my favorite Skull Spam that's currently available. Skull Spam is not excessively good right now. It's pretty much the weakest it's ever been, Skull Spam, as of this current moment. It's not like unusable, but it's definitely not as great as it used to be in the past, like with Bone Dragon and stuff like that. Of course, most of the good majority of the all the way over the top kind of Skull Spam has been nerfed in recent months, but we'll go with this. Of course, this is one of the new Enrage mechanics that do that 1.5 times skull damage whenever we need it. Kind of nice, not really too big on needing to utilize it though. You can do it perfectly fine just off of basic skull spamming. So we just get to transform, boom, go to Shagra, boom, and then, oh wow, that was actually a pretty big miss there. That's a bit unfortunate. We might even lose them. That was a really big miss. Whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. Don't be missing that hard. Well, he's pretty much dead. I guess I just have to go for the skull, and we will lose him. It's just going to kind of have to happen at this point. Can't really work around that. Get unlucky sometimes, so we will end up losing him. We will probably just go for our mana at this point and just go crazy again and not miss this time. Shegra, of course, you can double check and make sure that it does have alignment if you want to do it off the convert. Of course, like in that instance, you sometimes try to go for the extra turn off the 6 reds that it spawns. Sometimes it misses, and when it does, that will happen. So I do want to try avoiding that, but it will happen on occasion. So right here, yellow. We could convert it out. I'm tempted to convert it out, so we will convert it out. We do have cleanse off the apothecary, which is kind of nice. You will use this, of course, to do anti-freeze, so you can still skull spam through that. Works pretty nice against Death Mark and other stats effects of the such. Now we have a definite perfect alignment, and that's how it's supposed to go. Should have won this ages ago by doing that. Also, you have the, if you have fully traded Keeper's Souls, that does summon a white up to first slot, which has a very, very slightly higher attack than the Apothecary, only one. Unfortunately, white, they both have a really, really low base attack. Ooh, Revenge Rival. But we'll go up against our 3 trophy. And the first one of that loops. There are 2 really interesting loop teams that can be created. One is based around Forest Troll plus Web Spinner and Kraken. You can build this team a couple different ways. You can go Forest Troll, Web Spinner, Double Kraken. You can go Forest Troll, Valkyrie, Web Spinner, Kraken. You can go like Forest Troll, Triple Kraken. There's a lot of different variants. This is one that I prefer using, though there are definitely many, many, many ways that you can run this, depending on what your preference is or what you actually have. But yeah, this is what we're going to be running with. Essentially, what we're going to be going for is a infinite loop off of the Web Spinner, and it will be accelerated slightly by the fact that we have a Kraken that is doing 3 damage to all enemies every single extra turn that we get. So we'll take a little skull poke right there. Main priority we want is to actually get our mana rolling, though. There's no greens next to each other, so I'm just going to go for the skull right there. We can also entangle whenever we do skull damage. This is particularly noteworthy against a Scion. We're getting actually pretty lucky getting up against no Scions right now, but Scion is quite a bit out there. It is. It can definitely destroy you pretty easily once it starts mass draining. But we'll start getting the Web Spinner going. We end up getting a map off that to see if we can get the infinite loop kind of going off that. Take every turn we possibly can just to get that little bit of damage down. We did not get full damage or full mana there, but we can just simply do that, get a gigantic amount of damage off, and that's enough for a Kraken to clean up. One other thing to know about Kraken, it is actually the strongest Devourer currently in the game. The main reason for this is one thing I forgot to mention earlier, which was a slight mechanic change that did occur this patch. Is well, for one, we switched over to Unity version, except for mobile, but yeah, we switched over to Unity version, and one weird interaction that this has now is well, 2 things. They ended up adding immune to Devour on Barrier, so if you try to devour something with Barrier, it will not work anymore. What's interesting about Kraken is though, is it hits through Barrier. It's the only Devourer in the game that does its damage before it does the Devour chance. So it will do the damage, remove the barrier, and then it will have the Devour chance. Every other Devourer currently in the game runs the Devour chance before the damage. Kraken is unique in that way. One other thing that's noteworthy is if the Kraken destroys the final troop of the team, so let's say if our Kraken was to destroy his Kraken, that would then give us the chance to devour the next one in line. Before it didn't used to do that, now it does. So do keep that in mind as well. So let's go into the other loop team, and that is that other loop: Rock Troll, Dark Troll, Element Gravement, and Infernus. Infernus doesn't get used for too many things, but this is my personal preference for what I use it for. He can also be used in a couple different Courage instances. He's also occasionally used as a mana generating high damage troop in some situational red-based teams. But essentially, same thing as the other troll team. That's one other change that actually occurred too, is all trolls got a buff this patch. In 3.05, all trolls now double whatever color they end up doing, plus an additional 4. They also have a +3 regeneration now, except for him for whatever reason. But all the other trolls except for him have a +3 regeneration now, which only those 5 trolls have. I believe he's eventually getting, I'm not quite sure what the reasoning was again, why he does not have it. But yeah, Rock Troll's the only one that doesn't have that. But yeah, they do have the higher increase on the gem, so that's the main thing you need, and that's the only noteworthy really part about it, because troll regeneration doesn't really come into play that much. True damage isn't too heavy right now. It does get used, like we're actually up against it right now, but it's not really too big a thing. The biggest thing that gets done with true damage right now is a double humility Draculus. I guess he's kind of doing that right now, except he doesn't have Draculus, so he's running Crimson Bats. It does work a lot better with Draculus though. But one thing you have to worry about with this is it gets a really high amount of magic. and it can one-shot you. You have to watch out for that. Actually, we might get one-shotted by it now. It's the reasons why so many people counter this use this. It counters out a lot of the multi-spam teams, like things like Kraken, things like Web Spinner over and over again, things like that. This team ends up countering out pretty decently. So right now we have a really bad board. We're just gonna throw in Inferno. I'll clear up the board a little bit with the explosions. Not a full board kind of clear, but it will help a little bit. It actually didn't help us. There's one less brown now than what there was before. That is quite unfortunate. But we'll just throw that down. He doesn't actually use brown, so if that was to miss, it wouldn't have really backfired at all. Similarly, he doesn't use purple, so we actually got pretty lucky with the two main colors we spawn. He doesn't actually end up really utilizing. So the reason why we have the burn is mainly so we can land Elamagrim, though of course we don't land Elamagrim. But Elamagrim can do up to a 12 gem spawn when the entire enemy team is burned. And of course, with Infernus, with the capability of fully burning the enemy team off of its final trait, it ends up working out pretty well. So yeah, we'll just throw down the little poke right there, and hopefully we can just loop into the end of the battle here. Also, you will notice that all of their attack is 0. This will basically happen every single time you ever use an Elamagrim that's fully traded, simply because it reduces all attack by 3 every single time. This was nerfed down from the previous 4, though really any amount of attack reduction, even if this was a 1 attack reduction, it will still inevitably reach 0, simply because Elamagrim is made to be able to loop. And because it's naturally loops so much, it's going to reduce down their attack by a very substantial amount. And also when things like Scion and stuff get reduced to 0, they can't do their on-skull effect unless they get an extra turn for that poke on the 1 damage. If they do 0 damage, they will not get their effect. So the next one of the other really annoying event troops. I hate this troop so much and I love it as well. But I hate facing it, I love using it. It's one of those kind of troops. Wisps. I have struggled so much with Wisps in Guild Wars. I hate them with a passion, but yeah, they're pretty good. They're honestly, if I was to say what was the absolute best event troop they've added all year, it probably would be a Wisp. They are really, really nice. They also make 2 mechanics that are basically unused in the game usable. Actually, it uses 3 mechanics that are basically unused. It has Dispel All Enemies. This is basically the only troop in the game that is viable, that has Dispel All Enemies. It has Charm a random enemy. Again, this is about the only troop in the game that is viable that has a Charm. Or let me actually go over what each does. Dispel. For any of you that might not know, Dispel. It removes all stats effects, or positive stats effects from the enemies. So this is currently only 3. Barrier, Enchant, and Enrage. Charm, what this does, it takes their attack value and applies it to the troop above and below. This does not apply any on-skull effects, it just takes whatever their attack value is. So let's say it hits this one, it'll do 41 damage above, 41 damage below, and it does do it to the ones directly adjacent. So for example, if this slot was dead, or if this slot was dead, it would hit that and then the empty slot and do nothing. And if it was only this one and this one alive, the charm would do nothing. So you do need to have one other troop that can kind of clean up. Generally, I use a Kraken because Kraken is really good for that. Regardless of what the board is really like, he'll be able to clean up really nicely with whatever you might need to do, because he has the Devour chance and he can hit the final 2 troops if there is that gap, like 1 in second and 1 in fourth, or 1 in third, 1 in or 1 in first, 1 in third. It can actually close those gaps really easily. So that's why I use a Kraken with this. And Giant Spider, of course, is for mana generation, since all 3 of them do use that color. So you're going to want to utilize that. So we'll go get our Giant Spider off. Do we have alignment? Yellow looks nice, but that isn't alignment, unfortunately. Or unless I'm missing it. Do we have another cast? Green doesn't look like it. I might just do it on yellow, I guess. So we'll throw it on yellow, why not? Get that down, get ourselves a bit of mana. If nothing else, we can also shuffle into a better board. One other thing to know about Shuffle. Oh yeah, I forgot to explain Shuffle. Shuffle completely moves the board around. It is impossible for a Shuffle to directly give you any pairs though. Like similar to how a battle starts, where you won't just naturally automatically gain anything. The same thing applies with Shuffle. It will never end up giving you anything directly. It'll give you the chance of getting 4 times and 5 times alignment that you can like move for. But it will never directly give you, like, if you just shuffle and then you get like a 3-pair or 4-pair. It's not like an explosion or something. It will not give you those little bit of extra manas. Well, let's see. What do we need to do? I guess we'll just take a green then, get ourselves back up. That also gives us a Kraken that we'll be able to use. We'll just move that over with a nice little shift. Probably seeing if we have an extra turn, and we definitely do. We'll go grab that and just take all of our extra turns for a little bit of poke. And just keep chipping them down slowly. And now here's why you use a Kraken. As you can see, he has 2 left. This is actually a good board to kraken on, but just to show you guys, for any of you that don't know, it will do nothing now. This is the reason for this is nothing is adjacent to either of them, so it's just going to do nothing. And that's why we have a kraken, because it cleans up very nicely, as you can see. It has the devour chance, it hits the final 2, and it just works out really nice. It's also relatively cheap. It's an ultra rare, ultra rare, ultra rare, and a legend. Quite a few of the meta teams these days, surprisingly, are pretty cheap. They generally run 3 low rarity troops with 1 legendary fully traded. Same thing with the Tesla team, same thing with that, and there's definitely quite a few variants of established teams that you can also do with it. And one final one, Red Rush. Princess Elspeth, Sunbird, Catches the Bull, and Ogrin. This is the most recent interesting team to be added to the game. It has quite a bit of potential. We're up against all dragons. That's really weird. It's kind of funny. This is a bad example, what I'm recording right now, as far as what the actual meta is. We didn't go up against a single Scion Famine Death team. I'm really surprised. Also, for any of you on console, you're probably surprised we haven't seen a Justice team either. That actually doesn't get used as much on this platform, but still, we're not seeing any of the meta right now. But oh well. We'll just throw this down. That's a standard kind of first turn that you do with this team. That just gets your Firestorm going off of the Sunbird. From here, we will just want to go and swipe a little bit of mana, take as many reds as we possibly can. Not so much that we keep denying it on ourselves, but we do want to take a decent amount. So, a little bit of a bad situation now. Do we have enough damage? I think the answer is no, but I'm still going for it. Okay, good, we do have enough damage. I wasn't going to bother calculating it out. But we do have enough damage, so that worked out nice. So let's just move that over. We do have another poke. I think I will go for it. Let me take the red first, just in case, out of safety's sake. So now we'll kill it. And yeah, that's why. Just in case it did do it on green like it did. And it did. I was, of course, hoping for red. That would have increased our damage some, but oh well. We can now go for another poke right there. And now we can clean up with the Sunbird triple kill. And now we just need one last little poke, and that will clear out the final troop there. And yeah, Sunbird. It was definitely a troop I underestimated when I first saw. It's like, oh yeah, this is going to be kind of average. No, it is very, very strong. Do not underestimate the power of the Sunbird. Also, the troop art is amazing for it. But, yep, that would be the team. Wins pretty quick. It's a Red Rush team. Goes for those 2 big Ketruses. One thing to note about Ketrus, I believe it happened this patch. Ketrus was also buffed this patch. The buff that he has, as well as a few other ones, like Drake Rider, I believe, got it too, is he now throws his full, or half his damage to the 2 adjacent troops. Before he only hit a single one, now he hits half of it to 2. So essentially what you do with him now is you hit 2nd slot, you hit 4th slot, you clean up with a Sunbird, and then you won. That's pretty much what happened in that battle. And that's generally how you run him every single time. And anyways, yeah, those are the best teams of version 3.05. By no means a full list, but simply just a highlight of some of the newer troops used within the context of really good teams. Most of these are relatively quick compared to the meta. Of course, one other thing not mentioned here, which is definitely worth mentioning, which is probably one of my personal favorites, is Gorgulfa Christinex Dragon Soul Christinex. It's a pretty standard one. It's been good for ages now, pretty much since it was released, and it's still one that I use as one of my main teams. But yeah, that's another noteworthy one, but it doesn't use any new mechanics, so I didn't want to really show it off. I mainly like to keep these videos exclusive to only newer ones, so that we get a nice variety for them. Anyways, if you still have any other questions about team builds, nice team builds, good team builds, anything with Gems of War in general, or just need help building a build, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Anyways, I hope this was helpful. Hopefully with 3.1, we'll get to see some really interesting teams, because crafting system will be coming, and with the crafting system, it will make it a lot easier to be able to get the dream team that you want to use. So the video, or the teams shown in like these kind of videos, or just the videos I do in general, will probably be a lot easier to build. So I'll be definitely going over that some more, and hopefully getting some nice builds out there that are cheap and efficient to use. Anyways, best of luck with everything, and have a wonderful day.